Welcome to Bonn Park. I'm Sara Geidlinger.
And I'm Marshall Ward.
And today we have Alan Charlebois.
We're going to be talking Ruckus Foods and rock and roll.
We had an amazing surprise tonight. We had Alan on. He was an early supporter of our show, but we invited him onto our show to talk about his hot sauce and talk about his rock band named Vultures Playing Ruckus. But boy, were we surprised when he said
he's going to play some live tunes for us. Here's Alan.
Welcome to Bonn Park.
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 Do you enjoy Bonn Park podcast?
if so, we would really appreciate it if you
Leave a review.
like, rate, subscribe, but most importantly,
Share directly from the platforms.
with your family and friends. That's the best way to get the word out to everybody, and more people will get to see our show that way. So click those like buttons and share our show. Thank you.
Thanks.
On with the show. This is it. Bonn Park is supported by the St. Jacobs Farmers Market. The market is a community landmark of more than a half century and is the largest year-round farmers market in Canada. Whatever you crave, you'll find it there. There's country classics like fresh apple fritters, cinnamon rolls, and Oktoberfest sausage on a bun, and new favorites like corn-wrapped vegan tamales, Greek gyros, and blooming onions. With almost 300 food and artisan vendors on site, there's something for everyone, and it makes for a great day trip with family or friends. Stay up to date on hours and events by following the St. Jacobs Farmers Market on Facebook, Instagram, or at stjacobsmarket.com. And here's a word from Summer.
I love going to the market with my family. There's so much to see and do. I love trying all the different foods, and it's a great tradition for our family.
All right, so this one's called Pillow Tricks. Was a cutie, but she was not into guys. But then she took me home so we could hang out just for kicks. I played her on my songs and she showed me her pillow tricks. Whoa, oh, 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 her pillow tricks. So we stayed up all night, we were hiding from the morning light. Didn't care if it was wrong, it was oh so right. I woke up in the morning, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I think I'm falling for this lady and her pillow tricks. Whoa, oh, 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 her pillow tricks. Finally took my lady for a night up on the town. Found a funky joint where we could get down. Leaving if you add up all the honeys in the mix. With her parts equal pillow tricks. Whoa, oh, 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 her pillow tricks. Da-da-ba-da, shabba-da-ba-dum-dum, da-da-ba-da. Da-da-ba-da, labba-da-dum-dum-dum-dum-dum-dum-dum-dum. Da-da-da-da, shabba-da-ba-da-da, da-da-da-da, labba-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So now it's time for me to hit that open road. I gotta do it, baby, but you don't know where I wanna go. I'm coming back for you to get my fix. I can't get enough of your pillow trace. Whoa, oh, 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 whoa, oh, oh, your pillow trace.
Alan Charlebois, thank you so much for joining us.
Happy to be here.
You are the founder and owner of Ruckus Foods
That is correct.
and also a musician.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they supported one of our shows.
I know. We were so happy to have this ad because I got to swear.
Yeah.
And love the sauce, actually. Marshall's surprised. He's like, "You ate that?" I'm like, yeah, I love it. I mean, these like homemade
the Cherry
tofu
Reaper
tacos.
barbecue
So good.
is crazy hot.
It is.
But the flavor is unreal.
Yeah.
Like, boy, you really hit a home run with that one.
Yeah, that's one of the ones that I made. All my other sauces are made with habaneros, and people kept asking me for a super hot. So I was like, okay, fine.
You asked for it.
Let's get some Reapers going.
And if there's a hot sauce award for color, nothing beats that sauce.
Yeah.
When
It's a
you
very rich
first made
color.
that, you must have looked at that and thought, or maybe there are adjustments you have to make along the way before you get it right. But I mean, that color has to be the most beautiful, rich, warm red I've ever seen.
Absolutely. That's the dark cherries for sure.
If you could picture a painting that's like crimson red over top of a warm black underpainting.
Yeah.
You usually quote the paint names and numbers, but not today.
Maybe a cadmium deep.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay. I knew that was going to happen.
Winsor Newton. Yeah. Hey, that's always been a dream of mine is to start a hot sauce.
Yeah.
So that was your dream too.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't a dream for very long.
Yeah, tell us about that.
So I'm in a band, and the band is called Vultures Playing Ruckus. It's like a 3-piece hard rock band. And we were sitting around at a band meeting one day, and we were saying, we got to come up with some merch that's unique and not just black T-shirts and buttons and pins and maybe some vinyl, right? Because that's stuff you get at every show, and people still buy it and they like it and they support it. But I wanted to have something that was very interesting at the merch table, and I've been cooking professionally for many years, so I decided to come up with Ruckus sauce, a hot sauce made with mango, habanero, chili, lime. And that was the first one, and yeah, it started to take off a little bit, and people were coming to our shows and buying sauce and then leaving. So I decided to actually start a real brand, and now I bring a special label to the shows, and I have a whole suite of other hot sauces too.
It's a great name too, Ruckus. Eh? It's a word. Everybody knows that word, but we don't use it very often. You don't see it very often, eh?
I remember my mom yelling it at us.
Oh, yeah.
Quit that, knock off that ruckus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What's all the ruckus?
exactly.
But it does sort of emote a, something's happening,
Yeah.
right? There's action to whatever's happening at this sauce.
Yeah.
And the design is beautiful and so minimal. And how did you settle on that?
So the original design was our band logo. It was some wings with VPR in the middle, and
Very rock and roll.
yeah. and so when I decided to start, my own actual brand, I just went online and I was looking through a bunch of pictures of random stuff, and it was literally 15 seconds. I was like, yeah, I should be a cat with glasses, and that's it. So I stole a couple outlines and changed them up, and that's how the logo was born. And I get compliments on the logo all the time.
Yeah,
so.
it's very clean and recognizable. It's like good branding, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it stands out when it has to compete with other hot sauce labels, which can be very, very colorful and illustrative. Sometimes the simpler approach is the better one, eh?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
That is the graphic arts rule.
Yeah.
Keep it simple, sister.
Yeah.
What was your first sauce that you started off with?
That was the mango hot sauce.
So how'd you develop that recipe? You must have been trial and error and
Yeah.
tell us the story, the fate of the recipe.
Yeah, so I mean, my initial goal was to come up with a hot sauce that was accentuating the pepper flavor, like the flavor of both the hot pepper and bell peppers as well, because they have a really nice, natural, fresh taste to them. And I've always liked hot sauce, but I've disliked the really high vinegar content. Something like Frank's, which is, it's a universally loved sauce, but it's 95% vinegar. And so the goal was first to come up with a flavor profile that, accentuates the fresh peppers, and then just add enough acidity to make it so that it has a decent shelf life, and not any more to that. So it's a combination of vinegar and lime juice as well. And then, so I eventually messed around with it enough, and I gave out a whole bunch of bottles to friends and family and got a whole bunch of feedback. And I actually didn't get a whole lot of negative feedback ever, which was kind of nice at first, but then I was like, oh, this isn't really helping me in any way. So I just kept tinkering, and I could probably tinker with it forever. So I decided to just come up with, that baseline recipe and let it go. And it's been pretty good.
You have hot sauces with names like Fire and Ice, right? And there's one that has avocado and cilantro in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. How does that work with avocado? That's an ingredient I don't see in hot sauces.
Yeah, it's not super common. I wanted to get something that was that would go really, really awesome on Mexican food. And I love avocados. I love guacamole and cilantro. And so that one was just like, take avocado and cilantro and spicy it up. And the avocado brings a nice creaminess to it. Gives it nice smooth texture. You can't really taste a whole lot of avocado in it, but it's more the texture and the mouthfeel. And then there's a boatload of cilantro. So
you have a really garlicky one too.
I do. It's called Garlic AF.
Yeah.
Yeah. That one was actually not completely pilfered, but the idea for it was inspired by another brand called Tijuana Tom's. They have one called Garlic Lovers, and it is absolutely amazing. And I still buy it all the time because it's a different type of garlic flavor. It's really a lot more heavy in the umami kind of department, but yeah, I was like, I need more garlic in my life, and so I have I mixed roasted garlic, a little bit of candied garlic, and fresh garlic. And after about a week or so sitting in the bottle, then they all kind of amalgamate into one, and it's got some notes of mustard in there as well. So
You're speaking my language. I love everything garlic. There's never enough garlic. Add all the garlic.
Right?
And cilantro.
Yeah.
I'll take all the cilantro. I'm definitely team cilantro, and not everyone is on this team.
No.
It's
Yeah.
like a genetic thing, right?
Yeah, for some people it tastes like soap.
Yeah, I know. Crazy.
Those poor people.
I know. I feel bad for them. It's such a wonderful flavor. Like, it's not often that we don't have it hanging around.
For sure. And in my household, there's always fresh cilantro, and it gets topped on stuff.
Everything.
Indiscriminately, for sure.
That's a good way to put it.
Did you already have a sense there was something happening here in this area when it comes to hot sauce? Like, we have Jeff Davis's Island Sun, right? And we have Wicked Smart now, and North Country Condiments in the last year has a great hot sauce called Slow Burn.
Yeah.
Ginger goat?
Ginger goat, yeah, that's on Hot Ones amazingly already.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, did you already see there was something happening? You thought, hey, I think I want to be a part of this?
I actually didn't. I had no idea. I actually started making this sauce when I was living in London. And I came to Kitchener to move in with my partner, and it just took it with me. And I had met Jeff and a few of those other guys at Heatwave Expo a few years ago in London, and then at the one in Hamilton. And it's such a great community of people. Like, it's just the nicest selection of people all making hot sauces, and we had booths next to each other and all tasted each other's stuff, and we're all trading bottles at the end of the expo. So I was kind of just dropped into this amazing community that we have here in Kitchener-Waterloo.
I forgot to mention Eric Bragg of Soy Sauce.
Of course.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's much like what we found the podcasting community to be. The podcasting community to be, just uplifting. Everyone's helping each other out. Everyone's very friendly, wants to share ideas. It's not very competitive. It's just there's a space for everyone.
For sure. And it's the same thing with hot sauce and podcasting. And anything along those lines where there's no, there's not really any like direct competition, because anybody who loves hot sauce usually has like 15 bottles of hot sauce on the go at all times.
How many do you have on the go, Marshall?
Probably 40.
Yeah. And how many unopened do you think?
Yeah. Lots.
Yeah, I've been told that I have to stop buying hot sauce until we clear out some shelf space. But
never enough.
I saw my husband is a realtor and he watches a lot of like home reno shows, and I've seen people like build a hot sauce cabinet, or being like, your hot sauce has to stay here and to house it, right?
Yeah,
maybe that's the route to take.
They'll all be eaten, and one of the sad things is when something I finish something off that I probably won't have again for a while, like some of the Marie Sharps.
Yeah,
I don't know where you'd buy them around here.
I know that what's it called? Menomex has them in Elmer.
Oh,
and I actually found out about Marie Sharps in Belize.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and,
where it's from.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
they're stocked on all the tables, and I brought a bunch home for gifts in these cute little wooden containers. And then I got here and I found out that Menomex carries them, and a lot of people in Canada are super fond of Marie Sharps. I was like, oh, cool. I thought I was just, bringing back something special. I guess not.
Marie Sharps is something special.
For sure,
it's
yeah.
very special. I first heard about it in a Danny Michelle song.
Yeah,
right?
That's right. Danny Michelle.
That's where I would have cut it from. But we cut you off. You were talking about the hot sauce community, and we went wild with where do we go? How many bottles you have?
Yeah.
Right. We were talking about trading bottles and stuff like that. Where were we?
Well, I was going to ask about like where you start once you've made your product. Like, so maybe someone's kind of tipping you off and saying, okay, so Brady's has hot sauce and Vincenzo's has hot sauce, and Central Fresh Market is open to stock in local hot sauces. Mm-hmm. How do you get some sense of where you can go? And is it really just you with your little box of bottles just driving around?
Pretty much, yeah. That's in any form of business, there's not really a blueprint to follow. You just kind of have to hit the pavement and start talking about it. Thankfully, at these hot sauce shows, people are very keen to give tips and advice and places to check out and things like that. But at the end of the day, you really just have to reach out to people and say, hi, this is who I am, this is what I do, and that can be very scary for some people. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of used to that from doing the same thing in the music community. When I'm trying to book gigs, like I just moved here, 8 months before the pandemic started. So I still consider myself a musical newbie in the city. And, it's just the same thing. You got to put shoes to the pavement and sort of put yourself out and do the best you can to sell it. So, yeah, that's what I did.
Does that sound familiar, Marshall?
Yep.
Yep.
Same with the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
Marshall carries that weight for us.
I've never been to a hot sauce convention, but I can picture it, and so you got a table,
yep,
right? You got your product, and before COVID, I guess there's tasting.
Yeah.
And is it just one table after another of people with hot and spicy food?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly what it is.
Sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we're loud and things are happening, let's go to one.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, Heat Wave, I guess I heard for the first time from Jeff Davis. Mm-hmm. And I guess that would happen before COVID.
Yeah. Oh, it's actually happening on next weekend in London.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, it's outdoor this year.
Yeah.
Outdoors.
Nice.
And so.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So traditionally they have food that they sell, like chicken wings and things like that, and people will walk around and you can either get a sample directly from the table of whatever they're sampling with. A lot of people use just like wooden spoons or something like that. We traditionally would do Tostito scoops, just to give it a little bit more context and what it would taste like with some salt and some crunch. But yeah, there's all kinds of different types of hot sauce from different places, from a very large variety of different companies. So yeah, it's kind of hilarious. The one thing I noticed at the first heat wave was obviously the hot sauce community attracts a particular type of person, right? If you go to a hot sauce show, you're going to pay money to get into a place where they sell nothing but spicy things.
For sure.
And I found it the first hour of the day. It's the real hotheads that show up, and they're
Okay, so this is like garage sailing.
oh yeah,
They're like, I'm coming before the crowd. I'm
serious.
tasting the real sauce.
Yeah.
and they would come up and ask me about the sauces, and I'd say, how hot is your hottest sauce? What's your hottest sauce? I'm like, oh, well, okay, so these aren't going to be destroy your palate kind of hot. I only use habaneros. They're, focused on a balance of sweet, salty, acidic, and whatever fruit or some kind of flavor that we add in there. None of them are designed to just be like kick you in the face hot. And these people would be like, oh, I can't even taste habaneros because this is nothing. And then usually within a couple hours, some of those same people come back to the table sweating profusely and looking like they're very concerned for their mouth. And they're like, you know what? I think I might try the mango.
There's a place for those sauces.
Of course,
right?
yeah.
I find it so funny that because you're a professional at this, you're like, I only use habaneros. It's
I just use
it's just habaneros.
silly little habaneros. Yeah.
Hey, you're making this all sound very easy, but getting yourself set up like that takes some courage and it takes risk and
a tremendous amount of work.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Tell
hot.
us about that.
Yeah.
that
You
process.
have a kitchen you can go use somewhere. And
Yeah, I've worked with a few different kitchens. Little Mushroom was really nice at the beginning
met them.
to open up. She opened up her space for me just in exchange for some bottles.
Is that Stephanie?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, she's great. And I've been working with a few different other commercial kitchens, and I've still yet to find one that I think is going to be a really long-term
Find that home for Ruckus.
sort of option. Yeah. Because it's weird being in the space that I am right now in terms of the business, where I have enough orders to justify the time, but it's not 100% quite to the place where I can justify renting my own space. So that's something that's ongoing. That's one of the hardest parts I've found with starting this business is that everything's very expensive, right? And it took me a few months of shopping just to find an insurance company that would be willing to take on a brand new food company, right? Because there are a lot of risks associated with selling food, and especially food that's kind of volatile. And
I love that you call it volatile. That's
Yeah.
awesome. But it's endearing, right?
yeah, for sure. And I was actually really surprised that it was so difficult, because I assumed insurance companies, they're like, they're making a whack load of money off of me
For sure.
in order to justify selling my stuff. Now, to have some insurance companies just straight up tell me, nah, we're just not going to do that. Sorry. I was like, man, this is the first time an insurance company said, no, I don't want your money.
Yeah. Right. That's a good perspective.
Right?
They always want your money.
Yeah. I assumed that they would just overcharge if they thought the risk was too high. But nonetheless, it was actually during the first lockdown that I started, like I fully went legitimate and, started insuring myself properly and opened my online store and started making it in the kitchen and all that kind of stuff.
that bottle for your hot sauces are in what I would call a traditional hot sauce bottle that we're all used to seeing, but your barbecue sauces are in this beautiful shaped bottle. Looks like they're from another era or something, right?
Yep.
From another time.
Yeah.
And
Something that would have held a tonic of some kind.
tonic,
Yeah,
that's right. And they just
Dr. Charlebois' tonic.
yeah, exactly. The purveyor of pain,
Yeah.
and it's such a great choice. I've never seen anything else in that bottle exactly. I can think of. Where did that bottle come from, and how did you decide on going with that one?
To be honest, I was just looking for a 16-ounce bottle, and the place where I get bottles from had that on their website as an option. And I did want to go with glass. I mean, I know that a lot of barbecue sauces come in a plastic bottle, and there's all kinds of extra processing necessary to hot fill something in a plastic bottle. And I also, one of the goals of my company is to try as hard as we can to eliminate plastic waste or drastically reduce it. So sticking with glass, even though it's really heavy and fragile and expensive to ship, is seemingly the best option at this point. And so I came upon, they're called Boston Round. bottles. And
Even the name sounds
Yeah.
perfect.
yeah.
That's so cool.
We do geek out on details like this,
Of
so
course.
it's not just you we're picking on with
Or
your,
I just
with your
think
small
about,
details.
my brother has written a couple books, and I know when I've gone to Chapters
David.
to buy his book, and I pull off the shelf and I see his name on it, and I always think, what's that like to have your own book published? But I actually feel that way about hot sauce. Like in my dreams, if I make a hot sauce one day, I can't imagine having and handing a bottle over to somebody,
Yeah.
And that must be such a rush.
It's great.
Yeah.
Honestly, it follows along the same lines as music. When you give someone a CD of music that you wrote and performed and recorded, it feels good. It feels like, even if it's not perfect, right? The first album I recorded isn't perfect by any means. And it's a perfect little snapshot of my life at that point in time. And this is Wake Up.
Feel hard. I've been devastated when there's no love. You take it all until there's no more. But I want more. And I feel it just beneath the surface, dreaming in my sea of purpose. Why can't I find my way this time? My dreams are coming to life. I wake up. If you won't give it, then I'll take love. You try to keep me down, I stay tall. And I'll never quit so you can give up. Won't you give it all? It's a matter of time. Years ago, my mother called. The son, when the heck are you gonna come back home? Go back to school and get yourself a job. Stay on this path and you'll never go far. But I can't live a life I don't love. Spread my wings and sail the skies above. So I rise up and find the open door. 'Cause I'm not dreaming anymore. I wake up. If you won't give it, then I'll take love. You try to keep me down, I stay tall. And I'll never quit so you can give up. Won't you give it all? It's a matter of time. Open your mind, you really can fly. Never let them tell you that you should not try. Open your mind, you really can fly. Never let them tell you that you should not try. Never let them tell you that you should not try. I wake up. If you won't give it, then I'll take love. Now try to keep me down, but I stay tall. And I'll never quit so you can give up. Won't you give
such a great way of putting it. We talk often about the artist's sketchbook or the process and how it's hard to be okay with not perfect.
Yeah.
Right? It's tricky.
Oh,
Some people are better
absolutely.
at it than others. I'm not great at it and I'm not perfect. So that's definitely like a duality for me. But yeah, it's like that body of work. It has to grow somehow. Right?
Absolutely. And I mean, for music, there's a pretty easy way to squash that in that, changing things costs a lot of money. So I could spend months and months or years in a studio trying to perfect an album, but I literally just can't afford that. So I can't be the Axl Rose and spend 15 years on an album.
When I first heard your band, Vultures Playing Ruckus, what really drew me in was that kind of like government mule sound. Like I just love rock bands that sound like that. Tell us all about that band and along with your solo material.
Yeah, so the band started in 2013, and it was a fun chance meeting. The guitar player Corey, I had known him from another fairly successful London band called the Crystal Cage, and I happened to be out on a date, I think, and I was telling this girl that I was hanging out with, I'm like, oh, that's Corey Adcock. He's such a shredder. Like, he's got long hair. He's just the coolest dude ever. And he just rips on guitar. And he was at an open mic. And so the girl was like, oh, you should go talk to him. I was like, no. He's
the one that's like me.
He's way too good to be talking to someone like me. And then I went up and performed at the open mic as well. And as soon as I got off stage, he came up and talked to me. And he said, oh, I've been looking for a singer for my band for the last 9 months. Would you like to jam with us?
And then after you scooped up your jaw from the floor.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was like, sure, I'll be in your band, but do you also want to jam separately from the band just with my stuff? Because I always had this idea that I wanted to have my own project, and then, I sort of brushed off his project a little bit. And then I joined the band, and I was like, oh, this is amazing.
It was a great fit right away.
Yeah, it was perfect.
He liked your good old boy delivery of vocals. Like, you sound like it could be Ronnie Van Zant and Greg Allman and that, right?
Yeah, for sure. And him and Darren, the three of us just meshed musically perfectly right off the bat. And the name actually came from misheard Rage Against the Machine lyrics.
Okay, explain this, because I love a good misheard lyric.
Yeah, I forget the name of the song, but there's a Rage Against the Machine song where he mentions Vultures Playing Rockets, and he said he thought it was Ruckus, and we're like, yeah, Vultures Playing Ruckus, or it sort of brings about a bit of a metal vibe, and then playing Ruckus, we're just playing a ruckus, and so that became the band, and we recorded an album, and we recorded 2 albums actually. But yeah, it's been great. I love jamming with those guys.
And did you guys grow up on some of the same old records? Like, were you listening to Cactus and bands like that from the 70s?
Yeah, I mean, we all listen to, so obviously there's the 90s grunge kind of a vibe that, where the Rage Against the Machine and things like that came from. But also we grew up on, the standard Zeppelin and Rush and Ozzy and all those kinds of very note-heavy bands. And that's sort of what made us evolve into a power trio, where I say, we've got a lead guitarist, a lead bass player, and a lead drummer. Because none of us had really stopped doing anything the whole song. There's no sitting back. And when I joined the band, I was actually auditioning for them as just a singer. And I had never done that before. I've never been...
What do I do with my hands?
Yeah. Literally, what am I doing with my hands?
Yeah.
I don't have any stage moves as a singer. I'm always used to holding something. And then the guy who was playing bass had to bow out to take care of some stuff. And we went from a 4 to a 3. And I said, oh, I've got a bass at home. I can learn. I've played bass for like 3 months when I was 12. I had this old Washburn bass, and I said, I'll do it. And so I was sort of baptized by flame, and had to keep up with those two, right? Because you can't have a Neil Peart style drummer and a shredder guitar player with just to sit back and play root note kind of a bass player. So I had to get my chops up real quick.
Marshall, let's take a moment to hear from this week's sponsor, the St. Jacobs Farmers Market.
And their vendor, Grandpa's Soft Pretzels, located in the Peddler's Village.
We had a chance to meet Joseph and Viola, owners of Grandpa's Soft Pretzels. And here's what Joseph had to say.
Hi, my name is Joseph. This is my wife, Viola. She is the most important here. The pretzel place, we call it Grandpa's Soft Pretzels, has been present in the market for about 26 years now. We bought this business from the Mennonite people who brought this idea from Pennsylvania. So the recipe that we use, it's a Pennsylvanian pretzel. It's a very nice dough, not too heavy, not too light. That is why it can be, the toppings can be applied on it. Not every pretzel, European pretzels, cannot be really with applied toppings. They either use for eating, like in Germany, they eat it with meats and stuff. Our pretzel is very nice because you can put anything on them if you like.
My kids absolutely love Grandpa's Soft Pretzels. They always make it a destination, and they get it with the chipotle cheese sauce. And we'd love to know what's in the recipe because they're the best pretzels around.
The recipe that we use is very basic. See, we don't use additives. We don't use preservatives. That is why the pretzels don't last long. So we expect our customers to eat them in foreseeable time, but this makes them nice. So we have already had like 2 generations buying our pretzels. There was an instance where the little girl that used to come to buy our pretzels actually worked for us after, for a few years, Jamie. So basically this idea of pretzels is not that unique.
Joseph and Viola are so proud of the product that they're making. And clearly, Joseph credits Viola with all the hard work. You can see her twisting the pretzels in the Peddler's Village every week.
My wife basically has been the pillar of this business, and she knows how to make them, especially when we have a large crowd. Yes, it is very difficult for some people to figure out how should they make them so I can have enough pretzels all day and they're fresh. Mostly who makes us basically going now is the people who come year after year, and they know our pretzels, so we appreciate this kind of commitment. and we like the fact that people comment nicely on this product.
So don't forget to stop by Grandpa's Soft Pretzels in the Peddler's Village of the St. Jacobs Farmers Market. Yummy! And now back to the show.
And who's doing the songwriting?
All 3 of us, actually.
I love that.
Yeah, it's something that I had never experienced before in terms of all 3 members contributing pretty close to equally in terms of the music to all the other parts as well. Like our drummer can say, can you like do like na 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 instead of the na 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 na, and so all the music was written at the same time. It's starting with a riff or starting with a simple idea or even just starting with a beat. And then I would just write the lyrics, usually really soon before we have to record.
And what's the lyric writing process for you? I know we're really hammering you for details here, but I am fascinated by how people write and what their process. Some people sit down with an idea and they flesh it out. Some people wake up in the middle of the night and grab a pen. Some people just, they're walking down the street or going about their day and it starts flowing to them. But what's yours like?
Yeah, so the way that I have always written lyrics, it's always kind of waiting for the inspiration to strike, and then just being more or less efficient at capitalizing on it. Sometimes it happens while I'm driving. I'll think of a line or something like that, and I have to pull over and either record it on my phone or write it down or do something like that. Or it just, just comes all at once and very intentional, and usually while I'm listening to a demo of the song.
Right.
And it's been kind of weird with this band because we write everything in the jam space. I'm often writing the melody long before I write the lyrics.
So you're already kind of in that zone. That's actually a great position to be in. You're working with an existing piece of music.
And so the hardest part about all of that is that because we've written and practiced the melody, while I'm not actually saying real words, but I'm singing still.
That's common.
And so when I actually, sat down and wrote the lyrics, I have to now re-memorize the song.
Yep.
Because I had memorized the BS lyrics before. So yeah, that's always been a challenge, and sometimes I forget my lyrics and start singing the nonsense
Because it's stored in the brain
Yeah.
somewhere as the original version, right?
Exactly,
That's
yeah.
great.
Yeah, that's how Ozzy Osbourne has done songwriting for years. I remember I got to interview Bob Daisley, who would have written the lyrics for
Nice.
those first 3 records, and he talked about how Ozzy just kind of would, shuffle into the studio and do basically what you just did now.
Yeah.
With an idea for a song, like Over the Mountain or something.
Yeah.
And then Bob Daisley just takes it from there, and I always thought that's fascinating that you can just kind of not hum, but almost like use your voice like an instrument
Yeah,
to show how those lyrics will, I guess,
for sure.
work with the music. Yeah.
K-pop sensation Blackpink does that also.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you, Netflix.
Yeah.
I love that documentary. It comes up a few times in this show, actually. Sorry, I was just going to say, there's a sound that I hear in your music as well, in the band's music as well, that's like Janis Joplin's band, the Big Brother and the Holding Company. It's sort of a bluesy, raw, but I wouldn't call your band blues, but it's that raw, bluesy rock, sort of original 60s fat sound, but there's not a whole bunch of you.
Yeah.
How are you doing it?
Yeah, that's the big mystery. I've heard that many times before, where people say you have such a big sound for just 3 people, and so yeah, I mean, I think that just comes from the busyness of the drums and the sort of off the cuff nature of the guitar.
Right.
Because Cage, our guitar player, he's one of a kind for sure. He's got this sort of innate sense of just like pure rock and roll that he embodies, and it's almost as though it's something he doesn't control. It's almost like it's just the muse going through him. And if you ask him to recreate something, sometimes it's like, nope, that was gone. I did that.
One and done.
Yeah. But yeah, that's something that it's been kind of difficult to recreate that on an album. Our band has always been 10 times better live than we have been on record. Now, obviously, there's financial reasons, some financial reasons for that, in not having $50,000 to dump into recording such a heavy sounding record. But also, I think our energy comes from each other and from crowd. So when there's a bunch of people in front of you, rocking out, that is the number one sort of rush for us that we go for, and that makes it sound nice and big, and we sort of sit in a pocket because of that.
How does your solo work differ to you?
Oh, it's totally different.
Tell us everything.
I've had all kinds of different influences. Actually, my first musical influences in my life were hip hop. That's because I had an older brother, and he listened to Mace and Puff Daddy and Biggie and Tupac when I was in probably grade 3 or 4. And so the first CD I had was a Mace CD, and I sort of came into that. And then also completely separate to that, I've always been a complete mush. Writing poetry and, fantasizing about getting married and being in love and all this kind of stuff. So that became a vehicle for me to express that side of my personality. Whereas the band is a lot more the gritty sort of aggression. And I really liked having separate outputs for all of that stuff. And so my solo stuff has been, my first solo album is basically one big love song. And so that was just more of a vehicle for expression than anything. And now I'm sort of transitioning into maybe closer to a bit more of a poppy kind of singer-songwriter sound.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's super exciting, and I've been listening to a lot of pop music in the last few years, just trying to bridge a gap between where I have always been and where I want to be in the future. Because most of my solo stuff has been sort of a crossover between like John Mayer and Adele, with a little bit of a Eddie Vedder kind of rasp. So now it's changing. Obviously, my life is different now, so that's going to reflect differently in the music that I write.
Where were you playing live before the pandemic?
BC, before COVID.
How did that all unravel?
I was playing a lot. The last 3 years before lockdown started, I was playing over 100 times a year. A lot in London at just the bar scene, and
like Call the Office and venues like that.
Yeah, those kinds of venues, and just pubs. Like I played a lot at McCabe's. They've hired me hundreds and hundreds of times, and I've toured a little bit in Western Canada and Belize as well. So that was sort of a snapshot of where I was kind of going. And then obviously, since the pandemic started, I haven't played much. I've actually been playing the last few weeks, sort of getting back into it and remembering all the covers that I know how to play. And that's been interesting and fun, getting my calluses back.
Yeah, what are some of your covers in your set list?
Oh, I think I know close to 7 hours of music when I'm playing covers, because it's a good way to practice and get my original music out there, is just to have someone pay me to entertain people drinking, and then I'll just sort of sprinkle in some original stuff here and there, enough to justify selling some CDs and trying to get people to like my Instagram page or something like that. But usually it's based on wherever I'm playing. Like if it's a backyard party for a bunch of baby boomers, then there's going to be more classic rock and some country sprinkled in. And then if it's more millennials, then obviously the 90s sort of Sublime and Pearl Jam and Audio Slave and things like that kind of crops up.
That's a pretty cool life you've carved out for yourself there, like being able to play your music and have your hot sauce.
I think so, yeah. Yeah, it's I mean, I haven't really spent too much time thinking about it, but it's advice that I've given many, many times, is just find out what it is that makes you happy and try as hard as you can to spend 100% of your time doing those things. And obviously there's an element of necessity in my generation. We kind of have to turn all of our passions into side hustles, because I want to buy a house and have a family and do all that kind of stuff. And it's seemingly less and less possible as the days go on. And so I've been very lucky that I've had any amount of success in either music or selling hot sauce, because it's something that can put food on my table. And also I really enjoy doing both of them. So I'm very fortunate in that capacity. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. I'm Alan Charlebois, and this is Saved by Love. There was a time when I was beat down, I was all but lost in the world. My demons were my best friends. No matter how the night would end, I was always sleeping alone. But I knew that I'd find you when I was done looking. I already dreamt of your soul. When I first saw you, I looked in your eyes. Even then, I still didn't know. Oh, I've been saved by love. Oh, I've been saved by love. I've been saved by love. There was a time when I thought that I knew what love was. I had it all figured out. Then it was gone and I went on without. Oh no, it wasn't love that I'd found. And I
now that I've got you, it feels like the sun. I feel the warmth of your soul. Now that you're here and you'll stay by my side, I'm never feeling alone. Oh, I've been saved by love. Oh no, no, I've been saved by love. I've been saved by love. I've been saved by love. Oh no, no, I've been saved by love. I've been saved, I've been saved, I've been saved by love. Oh no, no, I've been saved by love. I've been saved by love. I've been saved by love.
Hey all, thanks for meeting us in Bonn Park. Please like, rate, and subscribe to our podcast on the platform that you're listening to. And follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Bonn Park Podcast. Original music by Alan Lung.